We'll continue to do that for frame number 30. So I squished it and then I'm going to stretch it, and then we will have to move it down. Okay, so it touches the ground. At 29 it's going to be stretched, and then we have to make sure that it is stretched. 27, we will make sure that the ball is 1. 33, again the ball has to be 1. 31, it will be stretched. And then we are not really worried about here because the ball is bouncing very less. If you want, you can do a little bit, but it's not really necessary. Okay, and then we'll have to make this 48, 49, 50, 51, 53 again, back. Okay, so now if you look at what we got there, okay, it is not really looking stretched there. Okay, now it's looking good. So our animation part is done. Now we will work on creating the scene setting and adding lights and rendering the animation. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to create our plane. We will turn the animation off so that nothing gets animated at this time. Okay, this will be we'll hide this. Alright, so we will scale this long and wide and move it this side as our camera is here. The camera comes in the middle, and then here we are going to go to view, cameras, look through camera, and then if you hit the N key, then we'll do look camera, lock camera to view. Okay, that way you will be able to align the camera, shift and pan. We'll look at the animation from top, then we'll go to frame number 10 when it hits the ground, and that is where the ball has to be at the bottom. Okay, and key to hide. So we need to see the first frame and the 10th frame in the camera view. So the camera has to be zoomed out further. So now you can see that we got to manipulate the camera so the ball bounces at the bottom of the frame here. So I'm using the pan key and then the zoom key, and then see. So at 1 it is at top of the screen and 10 it is bottom. Okay, so you can see that top is also visible, bottom is also visible. Now what we have to do is do the setup of, so camera is done now. So do the setup. What I can do is, sometimes what happens is by mistake you move the camera. So you can select the camera and then hit the I key and create a keyframe for the location. So by chance if you change the view, we will hit the I key and we will add rotation, scaling, we will add key from everything. So if you change the view, it will go back to our view. Okay, so one of the ways to make sure that the camera is set up properly is to create a keyframe. So I have created a keyframe for position, rotation and scale. So anything that you change will be going, and there is only one key. The next thing is to make sure that the entire scene is covered by the plane. So we will make the plane big, okay, and then it can be moved that side, and we can also scale it this way. Okay, the other thing you can do is, if you go to edit mode, you will select the edge, select these two edges, right click, subdivide. I wanted to subdivide more than once, so I'll open this and say 9. Okay, and then we'll go to the vertex mode, select this one, shift select this one, and then if I move it up, only one moves. So what I will do is I'll click on this button here and select sharp, and when I move it, only still one moves. So when it is moved, I can rotate my mouse button. So now you can see that a few more of those vertices are getting affected, and then you can keep moving it up. Okay, and that way you don't have to make it too big and still have a plain background. Alright, so we'll select the object, go to object and make it smooth shaded. Alright, so now our animation is done, camera setup is done. Okay, so we can go to view, cameras, active camera. This needs to be wider. Is this getting, looks like the plane has some kind of animation to it. Okay, so you'll select all these and delete, and then we can scale it, and then it should not go back. Okay. Right, so our camera setup is done. Let us go to 10. Scale it long so it doesn't look odd. Alright, now we will add we'll select this light go to light properties and make it sunlight. Okay, this is our render view, so it's too strong, so we'll make it 2, and then you can rotate the light so that the shadow is nearby. Okay, if you open the shadow parameters, we can increase the softness of the shadow. Okay. Then we will go to shading, and then if you go here, we'll add a new material. We will deselect the principal BDF, and then we will add shader, glossy shader, and we'll connect it to that, and then you can reduce the roughness, change the color to red, whatever color you want. Okay. Animation. Okay. If you go to shading, you can also add an environment. So if you want, you can go to world, this background, you can go to add texture, environment texture, and then connect that to the color input and use HDRI image. I have downloaded, I'll use this HDRI image. Okay, so that will have some effect on the object. Look at that object, you will see that HDRI image being affected onto the object. Okay, and so we'll go to view, cameras, active camera, and then layout, views, camera, active camera, and this will be our animation. Okay, so to render the animation, we'll go to we are using EV. Cycles will take longer time. This is an animation assignment, so we are not really worried about getting cycles rendering, which might give better results but may take longer time, so we'll just use EV for now. And we need to look at output, so that will be under the scene output. Select the file where you want to save it. So you find a folder on your computer where you want to save it. I'm saving it in my Blender folder, animation 1, ball bounce, and there's a render folder I created. I'll create a new folder and name it render new, and then select that render new folder and we will animate 70 frames. We will make it 1280 by 720. Okay, 100% frame rate. Frame rate is 24 frames per second, and we're going to save it as a PNG file. Okay, it is always advisable to render your animation in an image sequence. So just in case something goes wrong and your rendering stops midway, then you can change the frame numbers and continue your rendering and not lose all your renderings. Okay, so for example, it stops at 35 frames, then you can again start from 36th one and continue rendering the rest of the animation instead of restarting the whole thing from scratch. Okay, and then you just go to render animation, and it's going to start rendering your files. So I'll come back to this once the rendering is done, and once the rendering is done, we will take it into a free video editing software and put it all together.